Okay, so we always talk before the meetings, and so we had our pre-meeting talk. First of all, just want to check in with everybody. Is everybody well?
Yes.
I'm happy it's summer, so yes.
Good, good, good. Um, we are officially in summer. For some of us, we've been in summer for about a month, but we finally caught up with the calendar. So super exciting things, super exciting things. So this is, I guess, for our meeting for today, the agenda that Oscar kind of provided for us. I want to reinforce our mission and purpose for USASBE as well as the SIG. Oscar and I talked about this a little bit. We want to make sure we stay focused and centered on that. So USASBE is an inclusive community advancing entrepreneurship education through bold teaching, scholarship, and practice. The purpose of the special interest groups, they are organized in coordination with the association to encourage information and knowledge exchange and development of special programs addressing the specific mission of the group, and open to all association members. So we are the Minority and Women and Entrepreneurship SIG. So that's our group. And our mission is to promote the intersection and discovery of minority and women entrepreneurship and teaching, scholarship, and practice. Now, we know that we are an exemplar SIG. We've been around for a long time. You ladies and gentlemen are wonderful and charting the course and making everybody else jelly. That's jealous, as I learned on social media. And so we are often on the cutting edge of what's happening in USASBE as it intersects with what we do. So we have to make sure that whatever we are working on, that we are working on centered for who we are specifically chartered to support, minority and women. So we've already kind of done a welcome. And can we get an approval for the last minutes? Is everybody okay with the last minutes? Okay, so just
Yes.
I got a yes or
Yes.
a thumbs up. Yes. Okay, so I think we got that from everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you for those minutes. Okay, so Oscar, I guess I'll be going over those things. So he wants to make sure that we are sharing resources, that we are collaborating and supporting each other within our streams internally and also externally to our cohorts and other SIGs or people that are also interested in the same things we're interested in from the point of advancing women and minorities in entrepreneurship. So our 2023 summit is sustainability entrepreneurship in diverse communities. So we have to make sure we kind of keep that part about the diverse communities front and center when we're doing the sustainable entrepreneurship. That's what happened with the original summit the meeting that we had that Dolores led. We had it centered on minority and women. So we're going to continue to do that. We have some partners that have reached out to us. I think Wendy Plant wants us to collaborate and include FAMU's SBDC. And they have reached out to Oscar and sent some information. We are tasked to ask him about the scholars there, that we should also try to be inclusive. You know, every time we go to a different community, Oscar always wants to invite people that are that would be likely partners to us, to USASBE. So for those of you that don't know, FAMU, Florida A&M University, is the HBCU that is in Tallahassee. And they are right there next to Florida State University, which is where our conference will be. So we have the SBDC, which would be more like the organization, institution level. But we also need to make sure that we're connecting with the scholars and the researchers there. So, and anybody else in that ecosystem that we say, like Florida or whatever we want to make a territory of. Does anybody have any relationships, or would anybody be interested in reaching out to a scholar or a researcher at FAMU to see if they'd be interested in joining us at the summit? Or anywhere else?
Well,
that you think is
I have a lady that, well, one of my colleagues, she used to be here at Tech in Monterrey. And right now, I don't know if she's in Florida University or University of Florida, because there are like many different names there. But she's a vice president. So she's a women leader. And maybe, and she used to be in the government of Mexico by 90s, no, beginning of 2000, she was the Minister of Economy, and then she was she was the representative of Mexico in European Union. So she's a very, very important person, and maybe she's in that area. And in the perspective of minority, maybe she can join us. I mean,
absolutely,
she's an interesting.
That'd be great.
Okay. It's Lourdes Dieck. That's her name. Lourdes Dieck.
Can you email that information to Oscar and myself?
Oscar?
Yeah. So we just want to, we got to get the outline kind of going on what we were doing. We talked about it before, but now we're trying to, I don't know if you guys that haven't been around as long, but Meg will remember this. At some point, we start shifting to execution mode. The SIG starts off, oh, these great ideas, and then we get close to it. Like, okay, we're gonna do this, get it all done. And so I think that we're kind of in that shift of execution. So the things, all the elements we need, the people we need to sign on for the summit. Now, you guys should have already gotten an email that lets you know that the summit has the conference is open. So the conference registration is already open, and our summit is there, but we need to get more texture to it. As you remember last year, Dolores and Gina and Meg, we had our flyer that we had to do that had all the details that could, sell our summit. This year, they are not going to, I don't know if you had a chance to go look at the registration, but one of the complaints they got last year was that you could only do really one summit. One summit came with your registration, and the time of the summits made it such that it was harder to do more than one. So some people wanted to do more than one summit, and so that means that there's going to be probably a little bit even more need for us to publicize exactly what we're doing and who's going to be there from a competitive standpoint. Any comments on it?
Quick question, Stacey. I noticed on there, it looked like there were going to be morning summits and afternoon summits. Does that mean it's a shorter time frame, like it's really only half day? And do we know which time frame we're in?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at it at that level, and I haven't, they may have it on a master schedule, but they haven't given it to, expressly given it to us yet.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that's going to really be that much shorter in time frame, because we had a break in there. I think the overall summit wasn't over 4 hours. Meg, do you remember? I don't think it was over 4 hours, the whole thing.
I don't think it was either, but I think we were able to do a social time.
We did. So we may have to do that after or before, depending on whether we're morning or evening.
It was sort of like awkwardly timed in some ways, so I can understand the challenges that people might have had with that, because it would be nice to do either like a morning or an afternoon one so you could attend to. It was like, I feel like it was like 10 to 2, and then
I think so.
Social at 2, and nobody was like really ready for social.
Everybody was ready to go, right? And we paid
Yeah,
money
'cause it
for the
wasn't like
social, but we didn't have any
4:30 to
for the social.
5 or
Right.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just like, so I can appreciate the like breaking things up into a morning and an afternoon session.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure, because I'm excited to be able to help facilitate the Thursday online session, but because I'm not allowed to miss that weekend for my PhD, I'm not able to come to USASBE this year, which I'm super bummed about. But I wasn't clear in the registration how they're going to encourage and facilitate that for people.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either. I'll take these notes and we'll circle back to
Yeah.
Julie and try to get that figured out. Okay, so timing of our summit and then remote access. Mhm.
Yeah, and just, I mean, like what, because I can imagine that particularly with our summit, there might be people that might want to participate in that and can't participate in other things. So what's the cost going to be?
Yeah, we'll
so
have to
just-
find out what, last time they had some guidelines on
Yeah.
that, and then who we could bring in, because that's gonna make a difference as to who we have on the panel as well. Because if they can't come to Tallahassee, that might make a difference. Say like the person that Dolores is just talking about, she sounds fabulous. She might not be able to come, but she would be happy to speak, for 30 minutes or whatever, or serve on a panel remotely. So I have to find out what that is. I know they still have the OWL situation, but I don't know what their plans are. Okay, all right. So we need to continue to kind of flesh out that that outline and get the resources for it. I would prefer to kind of have Oscar be here for us to finalize on those types of things. But any ideas of anybody that you think is in this space that you would recommend, or a person that would be a partner, maybe not particularly in this space, but they're minority and women in the ecosystem that's in that area, then we would definitely like to get that information now so that we can, reach out to them.
What are we defining as sustainability?
I think we're still loose on our definition of sustainability. I think it's gonna kind of, I just came off of a conference that was talking about sustainability as well. And they had one angle of it. But actually they had more than one angle, because they were talking about sustainability of supply chain, sustainability. It depends on what you're pointing to about what sustainable means. So I don't know that we want to define it yet. I think it might be too limiting if we defined it. I don't know if Dolores has a take on that. Would you agree with that, Dolores?
Well, I wrote a paper about entrepreneurial, sustainable entrepreneurship. And basically what it is like I would say that usually we just to think about environmental. We say, okay, we have to be very eco-friendly, or we have to take care of the people. And sustainability means to incorporate all the care. We are caring about the environment, we are caring about the people. So at the time that we're talking about sustainability, is we want to be in a place where we can make this place where we are right now better than the way that we just found it. So it's a perspective about take care of not only about the environment, take care also about the people, and
Right.
take care about the resources that you're going to provide. If you receive one bottle, be careful, because that bottle is the one that your son or your daughter is going to use. So take care of that bottle. And that's the kind of thought. Sustainability, it's really expensive, because it means that you have to have shareholders and stakeholders all involved in that part. However, the idea is that we are moving into that part because the resources are limited in the world.
Right. And so the presentation I just saw, they talked about there are different types of ways that you define how you do that. And different people are attracted to different parts of it. So we talked about the sustainable goals by the UN. That's a view. There's a view of the Paris Accord, about global warming. There's different types of emission views. But I like the way that Dolores said it. It's more general. right? And so depending on who you get and where you are, the issue is different about how you do it. And I just think we need to make sure that we're talking about diverse communities. So that's maybe our center. We need to center around the diverse community and then let it define what sustainable entrepreneurship would be for them. So otherwise it depends on who you get to come talk. It could be a lot of different things.
So are you thinking about, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Richard?
Oh, sorry. So related note, have we reached out to Florida State? I know they have an entrepreneurship college actually that started a few years back. So we can, I'm more than happy to help reach out and to that college and see if they have someone who specialized or who are interested to talk about sustainability.
Now, you know that they're hosting. FSU
Right,
is,
exactly.
is hosting.
Yeah.
And
so we can leverage that connection and see if they have experts who could share some of these topics.
Okay. Okay. Was somebody wanting to say something else? I think Gina was about to talk. You're okay, muted.
I'm good. I'm good.
I was curious.
Oh, Meg. Okay, go
if
ahead.
you don't mind. So we want to look at, because the Sustainable Development Goals and interpretations of sustainability can be so broad. So if I'm understanding correctly, we want to look at like place-based entrepreneurial things, like things that might be measured within economic development, like people that focus on food deserts maybe, or are you thinking along those lines of things that are like locally done within communities versus large companies taking on sustainability?
Yeah, we don't want to do CSR type of
okay, cool.
sustainability.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to do CSR. I think we have to keep it open though, based on who we get as the headliner, so to say. So if we have a headliner from the UN, then we're gonna lean that way, right? Right. So if we get somebody from that community to come and speak, then they're gonna stay with what they know, because it's so broad. The context expertise is in different silos, and so I wouldn't want to say at this point we're saying this particular thing. We say the UN goals, and then we get somebody that comes in and they're great on the footprint of emissions, right? And then, okay, you don't fit our model at all. But we'd have to ask them to speak specifically around our diverse communities being minority and women, if they came, what the implication would be to them. Is that agreeable? Is that agreeable?
I have one concern. We used to say that we're the minorities, and when we look to the numbers and we find out and we can see that women is responsible of buying more than 70% of what is in a house. The decision-making processes about buying a car, 80% women, in between 80 or 90% women is the one that is deciding which kind of car is going to be for a family. So I think that we need to be clear about that, even though we say that we're minority. The decision-making that we do is impacting, is doing a great impact on the world.
Yeah, I don't think that we're saying, I don't think we're saying women are minorities. We're saying minority. We are minority and women. There are some.
Yeah, of course. But
yeah.
I'm telling you, because usually here we said, oh, minorities I'm telling you about entrepreneurship. They say women is the small group about entrepreneurs. Yeah, but the impact of the decision making is great. So if we educate and if we bring this message to these communities, is we're going to have a great impact on saving our world. Okay, let me tell you this. In Monterrey right now, my city, the north of Mexico, we don't have water. And that's a huge problem. That means that we don't have rain. We haven't had rain. We had few rain 2 weeks ago, yesterday or 2 days before yesterday, but we don't have water. And right now, something that maybe is so common for you, if you are next to, who's in Michigan? Stacy, you're in Michigan?
Me? No, I'm in
Yeah.
Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta.
Okay, well, who's in Michigan? Someone from here is in Michigan. Then or you're in LA, or you're in the coast. You have a lot of water, maybe you have access to resources of water. And there are many countries and many cities, for example, in my case, my city, which is 5 million inhabitants here, we don't have enough water. And that's a huge problem. And that means that we need to save resources, and we need to know and to create new opportunities to bring water to this huge city. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, we need to think about the development, not only about the people, but the communities. And that's the message of the United Nations. We need to we have to increase the consciousness of the people about the use of the resources, because at some point, these resources are going to be end, and we're going to have an end of these resources.
Yes, absolutely. I concur. I think we all concur with that.
Dolores, that's amazing.
Mhm.
We're spoiled, and I'm sorry that they're dealing with that.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, people, curiously, poor people is stealing the bottles of water that you usually buy in the store. A couple of friends of mine, they just were stolen from this bottle of water. That means that people need water. So that's a huge problem. I mean, for this part of the country in Mexico, we have a lot of water in the south, but in the north, where is the industry, that's something that we're struggling with.
Yes.
Thank you.
So from the standpoint of the summit, you know, as we procure resources for the summit, we just want to honor the resources that come to us, and we can always give the global definition as part of what we do in the summit. So the speaker can speak to some of the things that you're talking about, Dolores. And then as we drill down to the experts, we can help people understand where that is located on that big grid, because we got a lot of problems, right? In sustainability. That's all I was, referring to. Okay.
Right, that's a good idea. I just did a quick search and I found 3 organizations that in Tallahassee that focus on sustainability. 2 of these are related, do have minority and underrepresented on board. So we could potentially reach them out for.
Absolutely, that'd be great. You want to do that, Richard?
Sure, I can reach out.
Okay. If you have to choose
I
between,
share that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
If you have to choose between reaching out to FSU and them, I prefer you reach out to them, because that's kind of more central. If you don't have the bandwidth to do both, if you could just reach out to the ones you just found, that would be excellent.
Okay.
Okay. And thank you. So I think that, Gina, if you could get down from a summit standpoint, that we want to make sure that people have a general understanding of what the issues are for sustainability and how women are core to supporting the solving of these issues globally. That goes with what we have seen. At least I
My
personally
sense
have
of
seen.
humor is kicking in. I was going to say, this is something we've always known this.
Yeah, and that minorities,
Humor's
there's a space for women and minorities in solving these wicked problems. Yes, they
Sure,
call it
I've
wicked
got it.
problems,
All
right?
right, thank you.
Okay, so and so when we're looking for a keynote, we want a keynote that can speak to that generically, right? And then I love this, what Richard has is people in your community that are already in this fight, right? So they got the local people that we might be able to bring in from Tallahassee, and then we can move forward with the others. Great, love it. That's great. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. And so what I just saw earlier, the conference is so funny how God brings things together. But in the conference that I had, they were talking about with the supply chain and how the supply chain was very dirty and how people are trying to green the supply chain because it was causing so many problems, and that different places in the world are in different levels of this continuum, right? So the example that she gave was in San Diego and where they are versus where things, somebody spoke that was from Houston that would say, hey, this is where we are in the continuum. You know, this is how it looked, 30 years ago in the Port of Houston. This is how it looks now, and the different components and people that help the ecosystem to be better, right? So a lot of people just don't understand this work has been going on a long time, but it's a lot more work to do, and that we can all make an impact on how we make those decisions. And so we might think it needs to be highbrow, but we might need to bring it kind of down too, so everybody can have some actionable things that they can do. Okay. Anything else you want to add to the context of the summit? I think we're making a lot of progress here. Okay. So women and minorities as part of the solution for sustainable practices in diverse communities, right? That's kind of what we're kind of drilling down to, I think is what we agreed to just now. And then we're looking at those community based organizations that might be helping, and then how we can also do something. I think we need to add in individually, right? What we can do individually and what we can do collectively. And I would like that in some way we could talk about minority and women businesses that are not NGOs or, nonprofits. Those are for-profit that are doing things. So maybe that's two ways to look at it, nonprofit and for-profit. You got that down, Gina? Okay, I'll put that down, Meg.
Thanks.
He asked a question about prioritizing who we're at the same time of. Like we
Or not the same.
Not the same time of. We don't want to be at the same time as social entrepreneurship with this topic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Can we go back to the agenda? Anything else on the summit? I think this is great, what we have so far. Finding partners and then kind of fleshing out this agenda. All right. So next, Oscar. All right. Goals, quarterly live activity, panel, social banquet. Okay, banquet. I think he said that we need to get some more people to help with the banquet. It's now time for us to secure the location and do all that good work. And I think we only have one social chair, and he feels that that is too much work for one person. So is there somebody that wants to help with that?
I'm super happy to help. I won't be there in person, but I'm happy to help.
Okay.
Liz and I had talked about how there's like the activities of outreach and the activities of the conference overlap a lot.
Okay.
So we can coordinate, Liz and I.
Okay, so Liz and Meg, you're gonna help.
Oh, I don't know if Liz is going to help on social.
Okay.
I'm just saying
Sorry.
that we've already talked about coordinating.
She's right. She's right,
Okay.
Stacey. We are, because we partner together.
I just volunteering.
You're not leaving me. What's up?
And the thing about it is, my daughter is a graduate of FAMU, so I'm going to ask her to reach out to some of the resources that she knows in that area.
Wow.
Now,
That'd be perfect.
And it is a big family battle because I'm a graduate of Bethune-Cookman and we are natural rivals. And I said, I cannot.
Okay, Family Feud
up here on this campus, really. So I'll reach out to
I
her.
know. You know, my other degree is from Jackson State, so
yeah,
I'm ready to beat them up, and I'm ready. Yeah, but it's all like this, all love, right? It's love, though. It's love, unless we're like in a certain space. Yeah. So I actually met the athletic director for FAMU this weekend, and I was just admiring how ugly his tie was. I said, "Oh my God, look at those colors! What I mean, you have to be a rattler."
Well, what I was thinking is they have a lot of active student groups and everything there, because I know with my daughter, she was a journalism and PR grad, and they love doing a lot of activities to help. So I'm gonna ask her. I'm not promising anything, but just to see the engagement we would have with them to help with that too.
Yeah, and I have a contact at FAMU that is working on trying to help centers, entrepreneurship centers, be better. In a it's a consortium of schools that are minority. They're not all HBCUs. They're just majority minority schools. Some of
Oh,
them.
okay.
So one person is at FAMU, so I have to try to pull her in. So I have to figure out who she was. And so if you can get the student side, that'll be good. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Okay. So banquet, back to the banquet. Meg and Liz, you're going to help out with that and start looking at the agenda and see what day we're supposed to have our dine arounds or whatever they call it. And then we have to start figuring out whether we're going to do the awards and all that kind of stuff, because that kind of goes with it. And I know we want to continue to do that, but I don't know what funding we have for those and what funding we have for the banquet. So but finding a location, regardless if we get funding or not, we got to find a location, right? Because even if we had to do paying for it individually on top of what we normally do, we normally have it sponsored by DSF, but I'm not sure we're going to get that again. And Oscar and I will be having a conversation with Julie to find out what funding is available for the SIG for that. Okay.
And Stacey, we usually do the awards at the meeting, right? Is that correct?
Well, we've done them the last couple of years, we've had to do it differently. Normally what happens is we have the meeting and then we go to the awards banquet and we present the awards. But, before we didn't have, it was all online when I did it, so we couldn't do it. And then last year, they just made a decision because of something kind of at the last minute and said we'd rather present it here instead of presenting it. I think some of the people weren't going to be able to come because they were going to another event. And we said and gave it at the meeting, but it's up to us how we do it.
Yeah, what happened last year, in my understanding, which is another scheduling thing for us to think about, is that our dinner was the same night as the Longnecker Fellows. Is that the right name for it? Longnecker Fellows?
Longnecker,
For the honored award. And
but the dinners are all the dinners
all
are
the
pretty
same
much
night.
all the same night.
Okay.
So everybody's dinners that night. And I think that was what it is. We have so many people in our SIG that are active in other parts of USASBE that the decision was made to do it in our meeting, because our meeting was before all of the meals. So we had Longnecker, we had people that were in other SIGs that were going to events, but a lot of them most of them ditched their stuff to start and came with us. But because we throw a good party, but that's a consideration. They have when you look at the outline of the whole event, it tells you when the SIG dinners are. It's on there, what day it is and time. But regardless, the awards, when I say the awards, I'm not so much concerned about the awards that night as much as I am concerned about us getting the information out, getting the nominations done, getting the people to judge the people on what they're going to potentially win, and then getting a gift or whatever we're going to get for them. So all that pre-work for awards. Yeah. Okay. Scholarly resources, research in the classroom. So that goes back to the question for Dolores and for Richard. And in our last meeting, I was trying to explain something and I don't think I did a real good job of it. As it pertains to what we need to do for the summit or for this particular conference, don't overdo it. Let's not overdo it. Do what we can. We don't have to be so avant-garde, so far forward. Just do the task that we said we want to do. So like a mega analysis of a mega analysis of this information, even from our conversation today, wouldn't necessarily be necessary, right? It's too infantile at this point to have to do all that. So maybe just dial back what we want to do from a research perspective on sustainability in a diverse community. It might be just a white paper for that. It doesn't have to be something huge. But as it pertains to what we're doing in general for minority and women, we still kind of need that footprint. And even if all we get is what the outline is for this year, and then figure out what we're going to ask everybody to do coming forward in the next year, that would be tremendous. Does that make sense?
May I share an idea with you?
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to also to see if I did not misunderstood, okay? Misunderstood what we were doing. Okay, so I'm going to share something,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And this is an idea, you can read it and you can tell me what you think, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So let me share, this is the document, this is Word. It's just a brief idea of, I was thinking, as a group of minorities and women, we need to find, and I was thinking, okay, how can we do something like a white paper related to these topics?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the objective that I thought it was identify the state of education related to SDGs in universities. And we will generate an instrument to identify aspects that may be part of an index. That's like a huge idea. I was talking to a colleague here. She is working a lot about corporate social responsibility. But I was thinking, well, we have to define as a group what is important for us. And the only candle that we have right now is about the SDGs from the United Nations. So when we talk about our context, the place, the universities where we are living, I think we need to measure one aspect, which is the university by itself, and identify how many initiatives, what the universities are doing. So if we can make a story related to how our universities, and I mean ours, the ones that we are here, the 6 universities or 7 universities, and let's talk about what we have as a university. What is the level of consciousness of the university related to the SDGs? The second part, which is an important part, is what about the professors? What are the professors doing? Which actions are they taking? Is someone involved in any activity related to SDGs? Because maybe your university is not involved, but the professor by itself is in an organization, an association, and is working with a community related with the actions are related to the SDGs. And the third part, I did not include students because we are in summer, but okay, but the third part is related to the course. What are we incorporating in our courses? So maybe with these variables, and we can add, this is a part, if we can add students too, okay, we have to make a story. We have to tell the world a story about what we are working on. And this is the beginning. As you said, this is a white paper, and maybe we can start creating new opportunities for writing other things and to create an index. The idea of an index is something that I have in the future. If we identify the main issues, and then based on these main issues, okay, we think these are important for us as academics and as organization. And maybe with those, the second thought is about the index. But right now is to tell the story. What do you think about it?
I think it's work that needs to be done. I don't know if it's central to minority and women. We would have to pivot it some kind of way. We'd have to narrow it some kind of way to make it minority and women focused.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that you can't start there and start getting the information and then refine it and then continue on to the larger population. That's just my initial thoughts. I don't know if anybody else.
Maybe we focus on particular universities
Yep.
that are more heavily representative of minorities.
agree. I
Reach
agree.
out to those faculty members and to
Mhm.
recruit. I don't know,
Mhm.
just a thought.
I think that's a good idea.
I think these are great questions, like especially, I mean, I think it would be especially interesting if we looked at universities that are like budget restricted, be they like community colleges or public institutions, what they're doing with limited resources, you know, and how they're setting their priorities versus like what a highly funded private university can do.
And then the other component is how do we pull in the entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
So if we did the SBDC centers, reached out to them at different universities, and I know the collective data you wanna get, Dolores. I'm not limiting what you wanna gather, right? But to kind of sell it for a SIG kind of sponsored thing, I think that it would be, as Meg said, certain universities that are like majority minority or majority women, right? Majority minority and majority women universities. As by definition or by what they reported, you know, and then pick maybe a small footprint of what that is. Now, if you go with the HBCUs, that'll be one footprint. If you go with the predominantly Black, the PBIs, that's another footprint. If you go with schools that are only women's schools, like Agnes Scott, or, you know, and then their centers, that would be another way to look at it.
But how do we compare? Because the issue here is, and I was doing a review in a paper from an Academy of Management journal, and how if we're telling only the story from the perspective of a woman, how do we know that, you know, the comparison in between the two groups? I mean, at some point, if we make a study considering both genders, we can see how is one moving compared to other.
Right,
But
right.
if we're only focusing on women, we cannot have a comparison about how we can make an impact.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. You can look at it like from a purist standpoint. I don't really care about y'all. I want to talk about me. I want to talk about what I'm doing. Now, later on we can compare, but right now I'm just talking about the value that's here, right? That's being created. When I went to the UN, they had a lot of minority and women that came in, and that was intentional. But it wasn't a comparison against the fellas, you know, or the majority groups. So you can extend the study, you know, you can extend the study to, once you do this initial work, get your instrument refined, right? And then you do a second study that incorporates more of the general population, and then you can do these comparisons. That would be, you know, get 2 or 3 papers out of it. You know, this first one is the importance of this to women. You think this is important to women? Prove it. Show me that women are doing this work, right? So you go out and do that. And then the next one, minority and women, right? Because their communities are hit the most. They would be the ones that would want to solve this problem. I'm sure we can find something to support those statements, right? And then go out and see what is really being done. So it's really a report out of what's being done versus a report compared to somebody else. Does that make sense? Then the next step, once you did that, hopefully you have enough data that you could refine your instrument and then send it out to the general population and see, is there a difference?
Okay.
And that's a great, I'm glad you asked that question, Dolores, and I'm glad you asked that question in the general populace, because I think that's part of the issue that we have in the SIG, in that we're unique. And sometimes we want it to be a comparison, but sometimes it's not a comparison. You know, a mom's a mom, a dad's a dad, you know, comes to so far.
Yeah, and that's the way that someone is, exactly.
Yeah, but then there are some things you do want to compare, right? So I think take that small piece from what you said and just focus it. Gina, Liz, Richard, any comments on that?
No, I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting because we still can explore it, because our intersection with everything just makes us the most unique anyway. Because no matter what the subject is, I think we're going to be the ones that are going to shine that spotlight to help people understand that this is, we represent a group that has to be creative regardless because of so many barriers. So it'll be interesting.
And I think the first step that we're taking with the centers, and with the organizations, the universities, will help us then try to get to our core group, which is the entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So once we get this instrument done, then we can see what the entrepreneurial firms are doing and then have the comparison. Because we know women tend to start businesses more so for lifestyle, balance, wanting to make a difference in the world. We know that's already been, studied, versus just wealth building. So it would make sense that women would want to do this type of work, right? But we're starting with the people that are in their ecosystem first and working our way down. I think that's a brilliant approach to it. Okay, so you think you got enough information now, Dolores, to move forward?
Yeah, so Richard, what do you think? Because you're my partner in this.
Yeah,
The partner, there we go with the partners.
yeah, I think it makes sense. It will provide a unique aspect from our SIG. And let me know how I can help.
Okay.
Dolores, would you mind
Yes.
emailing me that document so that I can have it to put info in the minutes?
Yes, of course. I'll send it here to you. Okay.
Thank you. Awesome.
Okay, perfect. All right. So the what we need to still help Richard with is the part about the mega analysis of the mega analysis. And I think that, Richard, we need to give you more of a frame for that to make it a little easier, because mega is mega, and you're talking about mega of mega. That's a lot of mega. I mean, it's like a lot.
Right. So perhaps what we can do in the incoming USASBE meetings is we could have informal meetings for whoever is interested in this type of project to have an initial discussion. Then we can go over the typical process for this type of study, and then divide and conquer. So usually it's meta-analysis, just a more systematic literature review with the statistical method to pinpoint the effect size. So we just need to do that more systematically. And you are right, this type of project would take years.
Yeah. So, and this is something
years.
that Richard coined it, but I've heard of this, and you said in this SIG for over a decade, people wanting to do something like this because there's not anything out there, right? So there's a reason why it hasn't been done. So it does take a more systematic approach, and I think that is perfect. So if we could still provide some guidance, like on the subject matters that we think are relevant for minority and women, and we've talked about it all before, right? Talked about funding, we talked about, the different components. Gina?
Why aren't we framing this as like a special edition journal?
That is where we're trying to go.
Okay, yeah, I was
So,
like,
so,
that's
so we're
exactly what it
trying
sounds
to
like, yeah.
do the mega analysis of the mega analysis from minority and women, and then we want to shop it to a journal. So if we could have those think tank meetings before the conference, then we could be shopping the journal at the conference. Because we can get together. I think we need to get the scholars on a call with the outline of what we just talked about, Richard. If we could do that, and then have a white paper already done by the time we get to, not the whole analysis done, but the white paper, and then have some informal conversations with some different journals and some people that are, and I mean, I'm getting chill bumps because I don't know if you guys understand the power of the SIG and who the people are that are in the SIG. And at our meeting, it became apparent to me, because it was, okay, this is the past this, and this is the past this, and this is the past this. There's a lot of power in past presidents, past SIG leaders that are in USASBE and other places in general. They got journals outside of, USASBE. So if we get organized and we present it to them, then they can tell us how to tweak it before we do all that work, right? That it would be more palatable for my journal if you did this, or if you did this. Just like Dolores just put this out and put this outline out, that's wonderful. But we say, hey, for the SIG, let's narrow it to this, which reduces the amount of work, right? Focus it, and then it'll be a step moving forward, So depending on who we can get to, right? It might be a special edition. It might be a call that they allow us to do. It might be that they say, hey, you need to just cut it to this, or this is 2 different special editions, or you know what, finance is the only one that's interested, so we can do the meta-analysis and we just go around from one to another to another. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So what I could do is I could come up with a 1-pager description of what the typical process look like,
Right.
and share that internally, and that could be a starting point.
Okay, if that would be great, Richard. And if we could get the rest of the leadership team here, as well as the scholars, to talk about the areas of interest within that meta-analysis, because that's what's going to shorten the search. If you say we're only looking for venture finance stuff and women, that's narrow, right? We're only looking for minorities and social entrepreneurship. It's going to be an intersection between us and these other SIGs. That's what's going to happen, I believe, because I don't think we have anything that is uniquely for our SIG, but there's some things that are more salient for our SIG. Does that make sense?
But
everybody's looking for money.
I have a question, Stacey. So the idea of preparing this page description of what we can do as a group, because that's the one that we're going to present in the summit. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
We're expecting to get other people into the boat.
Right.
To see. Okay.
We're trying to get other people into the boat.
So,
right. So if you have your sheet and it's defined really well, and we have a scholars corner at the summit, right? We already got stakeholders that we've invited. So the summit is for us to not only to share, but also for us to solicit and use it as a launch pad to do other things, right?
But
so the one that Richard is doing would be in our meeting, or as he said, set up a different meeting to get people to come in and buy in. So yeah, it's a process. I'm sorry, Dolores, did I cut you off?
I know. I have another question. Are we expecting to do like a white paper as a group before the summit?
Yes.
I mean, that was my question, because that means that all of us are going to work on that.
Right.
And it's not only the proposition that we're going to make to to the
Everybody
others
that wants to work
to
on
be
it,
wanted.
their name would end up on it, right?
Exactly.
So if you don't want to work on it, then your name won't be on it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was
okay.
sponsored by the SIG, but if we get 4 people working on it, then it'd be 4 people working on it, right? And even if it's 4 working on it that are really working on it, that doesn't mean that somebody might not review it or make a comment or something like that once they see it. Is that answering your question, Dolores?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I would be happy to help on it. I just have to be careful. I don't want to change the vision. I don't want to change the vision. So I wanted it to be fully formed before I make comments. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
it's that's the way research goes. So that's perfect. That sounds really good. I think Oscar will be very pleased, and I think the past leadership will be very pleased to see what we're doing.
Okay.
Okay, we got
So in
time.
terms,
Yeah.
okay, Stacey, I want to be sure that I'm clear here. So in terms of a specific action item that comes out of the discussion we just had,
Okay.
what is the specific action item that needs to happen immediately?
Dolores is going to finish off her outline.
Mhm.
It's not really a full paper. She's going to finish off that sheet that she has.
Mhm.
Mhm.
She just gave us feedback from our last meeting
Yes.
on the request that was given.
Okay.
And she's given feedback in the meeting, right? And then she's going to flesh out a little bit more on an outline
Perfect.
for that, okay?
And how about
And
Richard's mega analysis?
Richard is going to create a process document about what generally happens for a mega analysis of a mega analysis, so that we can, that's our next step in that particular item, right? And then we all individually will start thinking about those areas of interest that we
Got it.
want to do that review on.
Thank you.
Does that,
Yes.
that's what I think. I don't know. Hey, I just work here. Anybody else got anything?
That was perfect.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Okay.
And we want to reach out to the scholars as well. We want them to be able to participate. Once Dolores' sheet is done, there'll be a call for engagement, I guess a call for participation. And whoever participates, and we can define what that is, how much work we think that is, and whether people seriously want to start, because I'm sure they want to get going before school gets going again. Okay. All right. Can we put up the agenda? Because he's real good about being on time. I'm trying to get off. I got to go. Okay. So we talked about our goals, scholarly resources, annual conference. I did that out of order. We talked about that already. Engagement plan. I know you guys have been working on that a lot. Can we just skip that one on this particular meeting? Does anybody have any discussion for any of the areas? We've been kind of talking along the way already.
You mean for our committees?
Yes.
So I just we've been receiving a lot of really positive responses to that when we did the continuation of the Heritage Series, just recognizing groups.
Yes.
So at least that's keeping us active, that we have something going out there. So if anyone
Okay.
has any other input for that, I'll just continue doing those. Meg and I have a plan that we're just alternating when we get closer. She's going to Meg does a lot. The plan we do is I submit with our internal. She does a lot with our social media external groups.
Mhm.
But I'm really happy with the response that we're receiving, that people are happy that we're recognizing that. And,
Good.
hopefully
Thank you.
we'll look at some other ways that we might be able to expand it some more. So right now it's just acknowledging that we know that these heritages and history exist. So yeah, I don't have anything else.
Thank you. Liz, if you could just look at the calendar and see who we have coming up, just let us know, and just kind of, so we have it on our radar
Sure,
about
I'll do that. Just a
whose
reminder.
Heritage Month it is, or,
Sure.
so
Just
we
as a
can make
little
sure.
reminder.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sure, I'll do that.
And then just, if you could do it for a calendar year, because you ain't got to say what year it is. So we know we got Black History in January. We got.
Well, I did put one out. I'll just resend it, because I did it because I put out a call to ask people to contribute.
Okay. Maybe we should leave it on
our
our agenda so it's in front of us, so we can just see it.
Sure, we'll do that. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Social, we already talked about that. The banquet. Research, we just talked about that. I think it should be Dolores and Richard. And then executive officer assignments, I think we just talked about those. Is there any other business? Thank you guys for being patient with me. I know I'm not as dynamic as Oscar. He's had lots of fun. Yeah.
You're a queen.
When are we going
You
to have
rock me.
vacation? When are we going to have vacation? I mean, which is the period for a break.
Yes.
Go for a break.
On
Is
that
July?
note, it's a reminder that we do not meet in July.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sure we'll still be having some emails back and forth, but okay.
And that's it.
All righty then. If there anything else? All right, thank you all. Stay cool. Thank you, Richard.
Great, thank you.
Great
Liz,
meeting.
Is someone
Meg is
in the area
gone.
of San Francisco? Is any of the group in the area of San Francisco? No, we don't have. Okay,
No.
I'll be there next week. You know, a company from Monterrey, from here, is our sponsor, and we have been working for 25 years in a competition with our students, entrepreneurship competition, and they decided to give a prize, an award to the professors who have had the win. How they say winningness? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So they chose 4 professors, and I'm one of those professors.
Oh,
Yes.
yay.
But the good news is that this company said they used to pay a trip to our students to Silicon Valley. And right now, professors, we are going to be on that trip. So next week I'll be in San Francisco, and I'm expecting to visit all the companies over there in the Silicon Valley and Berkeley and Stanford and all those universities. So I was thinking, is someone from the group from that area? I used to see that we're in the middle and the east, or maybe, well, Meg is in Oregon, Washington. Yeah, she's in Washington, but in San Francisco, I don't know anyone from San Francisco. So
Oscar would be closest to you, but he's still not close to San Francisco.
Right,
it's
exactly.
in LA. Yes.
Yeah.
La La Land.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well,
Congratulations.
Joy,
That's
safe
awesome.
travels. Take pictures.
Thank you. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I'll see you. Thank you very much.
And Dolores,
Thanks.
I would love to share that, and we can post that because we want to share what kind of things we're doing, since we're communicating. If you want to share.
Of course, of
Okay, and I'll
course.
post it in our SIG, if that's okay with
Do you
you.
want? Do you want? Of course, I'll send you the pictures once that I'll be there. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if
Thank
we're going to
you.
share about competitions, I don't know if Sharuk would like this, but when I was in Minneapolis in May, when I got COVID, my student group beat Sharuk's student group.
That's important.
I mean, I don't know if she wants us to put that or not.
Yeah, we got to put it out there.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
And we have both
We did. We actually
competing.
did, but don't put it out there.
Well, I mean, congratulating both of you for doing that.
It
Yes.
was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The students came home with money and I came home with COVID. It was awesome.
Oh.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh.
Y'all have a good weekend. I could
Okay,
talk
you
forever.
too. Love you guys. Bye.
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 Not the COVID
Thank you.
part. Right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.